I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy. Also today I'm at the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad in Boone, Iowa, and continuing episode 97 with part 5. What you see right behind me is Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad 8419. Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad 8419 was built by the Datong Locomotive Works in Datong, China in 1989 and is the 8419th steam locomotive built by that factory and is a 282 Mikado type steam locomotive and is a JS class steam locomotive. It was purchased new when it came out of the factory, and some of the crews of the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad purchased the locomotive when they went over to China to make arrangements to purchase it. A lot of people were thinking that it was actually the last commercially built steam locomotive in the world, but in reality, the last commercially built steam locomotive is actually another Mikado, but is an SY class steam locomotive and is the SY 1772. That one was built by the Tangshan Locomotive Works in Tangshan, China in 1999. It is still in the country it was built in, and China was the last country to commercially build steam locomotives as well. About this locomotive, it also has a vintage look, but was built in the late 1980s. So when the locomotive was purchased by the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad, this is what happened. Back in 1988, the National Geographic came in the mail to one of the board members who is now deceased and showed a page of a brand new steam engine that was under construction, and the idea came to the founding board of directors while the railroad was trying to figure out how to fix up a couple steam engines and thought it'd be cheaper to buy a new one. Also, when the locomotive was ready to depart China, it was being loaded onto a ship at a harbor in China. When the locomotive arrived in the United States, it was being unloaded from the ship in Long Beach, California, and it suffered damage when it was hoisted up by crane. They dropped it and rigged it up and brought it over to put on a flat car, and they heard a big bang. The sling that was underneath the locomotive to raise it flipped up underneath the cab and bent it upward. When it was unloaded from the ship in California, it was loaded onto a flat car for its journey to its new home in Iowa. Once it arrived, it was repaired by the railroad and they were able to get it running again. This was the first steam locomotive to be shipped to the country from China. Also, the locomotive had a red metal arch banner over the headlight on the smokebox door with Chinese notes and a gold star on top and a red metal rectangular board with Chinese letterings as well, and they are currently in storage. It all translates in Chinese. We are friends in the world. Even though our two countries are far apart, we feel like close neighbors. The locomotive's tender used to have Chinese words on it, which translates in Chinese. The locomotive is a dragon that swims through the blue ocean between two friendly nations. Then later it got repainted and stenciled with the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad logo, which is the Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern Railroad inspired logo. It was out of service for the 2022 season for a 1472 inspection and to comply with the new FRA regulations. Also, it started running Saturdays in 2003 and it is used for operations from Memorial Day to the end of October, usually Saturdays. Also, the locomotive's whistle was originally a Chinese 5-chime whistle it had, and then it was given a new whistle, which is a whistle that appears to have been built for an American-style steam locomotive. Also, the locomotive was then added with a second whistle valve in 2014, which it uses up to 2 whistles. Also, this locomotive is one of many JS-class steam locomotives still around, and the others are still in China. Also, the locomotive stopped running after operation in 2017 and was taken out of service for an overhaul. It spent years being overhauled before it could operate again. Then in 2023, it finally got steamed up once again as well and was back in operation on the railroad and started pulling the railroad's main excursion train through the Des Moines River Valley as well. Then the diamond logo of the railroad saying the Scenic line was placed onto the smokestack and the locomotive was given more of a Boone and Scenic Valley look, but some Chinese letters remained. Also, the locomotive originally had some components painted red. In 2024, the red portions, excluding the handles and knobs in the cab, and even the exterior of the engine, were painted over with black paint to make the steam engine look more Americanized. As well as that, the Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern inspired logo was eliminated from being on the tender and it was stenciled with a different font saying Boone and Scenic Valley on it as well. Today, it can be found here at the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad in Boone, Iowa, and normally pulls trains Saturdays from Memorial Day weekend till the end of October as well. What you see right behind me is the Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern Boone Freight Depot. The Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern Boone Freight Depot was built in the 1900s and has always been in this location. The structure is located on 11th and Marshall Streets. For many years, it was used for loading and unloading freight on and off of boxcars and refrigerator cars. In 1968, when the Chicago Northwestern Railroad bought the line, it was used by that railroad, where they would do the same role as the Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern Railroad did as well. Later, it was retired and it was empty for years. And the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad had it stay around for years to come. And luckily, it never got demolished. Then in 2024, the interior was being renovated. Today, the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad uses it as the museum's exhibit and archive storage room as well. What you see right behind me is Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad 751. Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad 751 was built by Electromotive Division in LaGrange, Illinois in 1957 and is the 228/81st diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a GP9M type diesel locomotive. Originally, it was built as a GP9 and was originally built for the Minneapolis and St. Louis Railroad and was originally numbered 603. Then, when the Minneapolis and St. Louis Railroad merged to the Chicago Northwestern Railroad in 1960, it was used by that railroad and kept the number. It was rebuilt as a GP9M and was then renumbered 4304 in 1972. Then in 1988, it was sold to the Fox Valley Railroad and kept the number. Later, it was used by the Wisconsin Central Railroad and again kept the number. Later, it was acquired by the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad and it was renumbered 751. Later, it was then sold to the Midwest Locomotive Works that leased it to Farmers Co-op Company in Dow's, Iowa, but it was never relettered for that company and it retained its Wisconsin and Southern livery. Then in 2020, Midwest Locomotive Works and the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad traded it for Union Pacific 2921, which was built for the Southern Pacific Railroad. Today, this locomotive can be found here at the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad in Boone, Iowa, and sometimes it pulls the excursion train through the valley as well, and presently it still retains its Wisconsin and Southern livery and may possibly someday be repainted to the livery of Minneapolis and St. Louis Railroad or Chicago Northwestern Railroad as well. Okay, I'm going to show you all this little shed right here that has all these old railroad tools and such, as well as this speeder, and I'll get behind the camera and pan around inside the shed, but we have to stay behind the chain. And also, there's a sign right here saying it was donated by someone, but I'll get to that part. So I'll get behind the camera and show you around, so here you go. Okay, so as I pan along, so here's some tools that we're looking at, as well as some railroad tracks, a velocipede. There's some tools on the wall as well, some oiling cans, and there's the speeder. And feel free to pause and read this, Lloyd Nelson's collection, and yeah, that's all there is inside this shed. What you see right behind me is Union Pacific 2064. Union Pacific 2064 was built by Pullman in 1914 and is an RPO car. Originally, this car was numbered 1266. It was the first car with the number 1266 on the Union Pacific roster. For many years, it was used to have mail sorted on board, and the mail would be picked up and dropped off without the train stopping as well. In 1915, it was then renumbered 2064. In 1968, it was then retired. In 1970, it was then donated to the Steuer Museum in Grand Island, Nebraska, where it was on display for many years. Then, in 2021, it was listed for sale on Ozark Mountain Rail Car. Then, it was purchased by the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad in Boone, Iowa. In 2024, it was lifted off of its trucks and they were loaded onto a semi-trailer, and the car body was loaded onto a separate semi-trailer, and it headed for the new home at the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad. Then the car was mounted back on its trucks once it arrived on the site. Then it was going under cosmetic restoration. In 2025, the repaint was all complete. Then it was eventually placed on display on the museum track for all to see and enjoy. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lap Train Guy. Also, I hope to see y'all again real soon, and if you didn't subscribe to the channel yet, the subscribe button is just down below the video screen. And if you didn't give the Facebook page a like yet, here's where you'll want to go. And if you didn't give the Instagram page a follow yet, here's where you'll want to go as well. Also, be sure to get your merch at teesprings.com. The link is in the description box below, along with the Facebook and Instagram pages. And as always, remember to subscribe to the Train Guy. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy, sign now. Until next time, all aboard.